Welcome, guys, to the reopening of the Court of Opinion. For the people who watched us on playback, we were a group of guys in the mainly the NBA TikTok community, talked to ball, talked on a lot of different people's lives, and we decided that we're going to start this back and make it more consistent. However, obviously, we're not 8 people anymore. We are technically 3/4. Um, I am Jules Compton. If you guys don't know me from TikTok or from We Don't Know Ball, I will be hosting, moderating this along with Glore and One Hoops. Um, Before we get started, kind of talk about ourselves a little bit. As people know me, the content that I usually make, jersey I'm wearing, San Antonio Spurs fan, been a Spurs fan since 2013, 2014. Since my original team, the Sonics, had to move to that shitty ass OKC team. And basically, been watching basketball since like '08. Really didn't start to talk about it until mid 2010s. And I started about a year, actually almost like a year ago to the day, making content about basketball. And I eventually found these two guys here and started talking basketball with them. And we all, I don't know if everybody respects each other's opinions here, but we definitely like to talk to each other a lot of our takes and that kind of stuff. But the Court of Opinion is basically starting again. But that's my spiel. I'll be hosting and moderating as much as possible. But yeah, that's my spiel. Like I said, Top and Glore. What are your kind of backgrounds before we get into our topics for today?
You can go first, Top.
Okay. I'm top on hoops on TikTok. If you know me, IRL, Eli, right? And I'm stretching out because I'm ready. Like I'm super ready to cook this man in front of me. Man, I'm super ready to cook him. Because all these takes we get on TikTok, I wouldn't say I have a large following, but it's something, right? You see these takes, and I give out these takes, and they wait. We just wait until it happens, and usually they come true. But if it doesn't come true, they like to hold it against me and say I was wrong. Kind of when we talk about the rules or whatever, because I'm a big rules guy. They say ants hated on Twitter and TikTok because of me. So I decided, okay, I'm making
Thanks.
videos on YouTube. Let's get together. Let's take this to a podcast space with just the three of us because I feel like, in all honesty, I felt like this was the best three to genuinely do it with because we have a lot of chemistry. We got the same goals in a sense, and I feel like there's a lot of people that don't know ball, but he said we might not respect each other's opinions. I mean, I respect their opinion. I feel like that they know a little something, not more than me, but they know a little something. So I do respect their
Right.
opinions, but we're gonna be doing a lot of disagreeing on this pod. That's why we named it the Court of Opinion, right? So I'm excited. I'm ready to go, and I'm ready to start. So let's get it, man. Let's go.
Hey man, listen, I'm ready to go. Um, I appreciate you two because you feel me. And when I started Court of Opinion, you two were the first ones that came to my mind when I wanted to start this because I want to get number one, us a platform because I feel like we definitely deserve it. There's a bunch of people who come in, talk sports, know what they're talking about, and participate that don't have a platform to really to use, and that's why we started Court of Opinion. So let's get it rolling. I respect y'all opinions, but that ain't gonna stop me from getting on y'all
No, you
ass
don't.
because my opinions are better than yours, and we're gonna prove that today, starting today, Okay.
well,
Yo,
All
man,
right.
let's go.
Happy to
well,
do it with my guys though.
yeah. Well, we can roll right into it basically because again, we're starting near the end of the season, but it's probably the perfect time to start talking about some of these true contenders in either the East or the West. So I'll open the floor and anybody can really start. Who is the true contenders of this NBA season? We got 10 games left now. Who's coming out? Who's going to make these deep runs? Who we moved by in the East and the West?
I'm gonna let you go first, Galore, because I like to rebuttal. So go ahead.
All right. So let me start with mine. In my opinion, there is 4 real teams that I feel like can win an NBA championship. 4, okay? And then there are some ones that can definitely, change my opinion. But the main 4 are the OKC Thunder, the Boston Celtics, the Denver Nuggets, and the Los Angeles Lakers. Those are my 4. Outside of that, outside the bubble, in my opinion, are the Spurs. You know what I mean? I think the Cavs are one of those teams, and I think it then is everybody else from there. Like that's my opinion about where we stand in the NBA championship. Because I would throw some teams in there, like the Timberwolves. I was definitely, a big supporter of the Timberwolves in the beginning, but momentum matters going into the postseason, and I just feel like the teams I named have been able to play better down the stretch. Important, which is to me super important because we've seen the team that got high in the end of the regular season, be able to carry that into in the postseason and win go to the finals. That was a perfect example of that was the Pacers in 2025. I mean, yeah, Pacers 2025. So we need to look out for these teams. I feel like the Timberwolves, I don't believe in them. I don't believe in their coach. I don't believe in Julius Randle. The Spurs are inexperienced. And I'm sure we're gonna talk about that and elaborate on that a bit later. But I'm not a big fan of teams that top 4 of your 5 players have never played a single minute in the postseason. That's just too much for me to risk. The Lakers obviously have their holes defensively. They don't have much athleticism. Um, and then the Nuggets have dealt with their injuries and their ability to get their guys 100% going into the postseason is still a big question mark. The Boston Celtics is obvious. Jason Tatum, how is he going to look? Is he going to be good enough to win them a championship? And then you got the OKC Thunder at the top, which right now is looking like their honcho. You know what I mean? You're going to have to beat them to win the championship. It doesn't matter. Whether it's in the conference finals or it's in the finals, you're going to have to go through this team either way. So that's just my feelings on where the hierarchy in the NBA lies right now. Just want to get y'all input right now. Go ahead, Top.
Okay. Okay. So he said the 4 teams that can win the NBA championship. Correct me if I'm wrong. He said the Oklahoma City Thunder, the Denver Nuggets, the Boston Celtics, and the Los Angeles Lakers. Correct? Um, no Spurs. So we just gonna disrespect the Spurs fan in here like that?
We
Like,
started. There's nothing I ain't been saying. This has been consistent. I've said it to his face. I've said it offline. I've said it. I've been saying it. I don't believe in the Spurs.
okay, okay, all right. So
Nope, not
my my,
convinced.
mine is right. Oklahoma City, Spurs, Boston. These are in order. So if I'm gonna get my top 7 contenders, OKC, Spurs, Boston, Minnesota at 4, which is gonna surprise a ton of people. Denver at 5, Lakers at 6, Cavs at 7. And the reason why I have this in order this particular way is because Oklahoma City is proven that they're the best basketball team in the NBA the totality of the year. They've been one of the most injured teams in the NBA while having the best record in the NBA, while maintaining coming off of that championship run that they came off of last year. And they have the best player in the world in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. The Spurs, right? The Spurs, I have no clue, right? When he says there's 4 teams that he thinks that can win the NBA championship, I'm gonna go with mine. Mine is Oklahoma City, the Spurs, and I might throw. I have question marks about Boston, and I'm gonna throw that in the video later when we go more in depth about them. But I'm gonna throw them in there just because I think the East is a little bit better than what we give credit to them for, and I think that they have a chance. Even though I think that they're the weakest out of those 3 teams, I don't think anybody in the NBA has a. There's teams that have a shot, but I don't think they can really legitimately win the championship. But the Spurs, they have some of the best depth in the league, which I think matters the most in any era of NBA basketball. They dominate the margins as well. They have a 7'5" Frenchman that impacts the game as much as 2012 Kevin Durant. 2016 Steph Curry. We just watched the game today against the Miami Heat where they won by 30 points, and Wembanyama was everywhere on the basketball floor. And this is like, I'm a guy that, if you see it on TikTok on my lives before, I wasn't very high on him coming into this season. I thought that he needed a lot to work on, but I changed that approach, right? They have a multitude of ball handlers, and guess what? They're the best matchup against Oklahoma City to anybody in the whole entire NBA. Then you got Boston. When we talk about margins, they do that better than anybody in the league. They take care of the ball. They crash the offensive glass. They're not really great at defensive rebounding, but they take care of a lot of the margins through those areas, the turnovers and in the offensive rebounds. So they get a lot more possessions than you do. Right? And I've changed my approach on that too, because now I see if you can maximize possessions, you have a great opportunity to win the championship. Minnesota, that's the dark horse of this whole thing. I feel like they're one of the only teams in the NBA that have the best combination of size, athleticism, speed, and shot making. Right? They have a lot of there's not a lot of teams that have a combination of size, athleticism, defense, and shooting. Oklahoma City doesn't have it because they don't have the shooting piece. The Spurs, I mean, kind of, but I don't. They're still kind of missing the shooting piece, in my opinion, because their shooters don't really have the defense and the athleticism that the Timberwolves have. The switchability, right? There's not a lot of good switching teams in the NBA. Going to the Lakers. Not too high on them. I feel like there's a gap between. Oh, no, excuse me, Denver. Denver. They haven't really been healthy the whole entire year, but they have the second best player in the world. They have one of the best offenses we've ever seen. And they have, just kind of like Minnesota, they have an ability to ramp it up in the playoffs like they did last year. The Lakers, they made me be higher on them going on this little hot streak. I'm not too high on them. I think that they have flaws, but I mean, they have Luka, LeBron, and Austin Reeves. It's that simple, right? And they have an elite half-court offense, and the ability to score in the half-court as well is what you want to have going forward in the playoff series. And the Cavaliers, I think they're one of the most complete teams in the NBA, from floor spacing to defense to ball handlers to creators to passers to interior defense. I think that they have a ton. So, but the two teams that I really, really think that they can win the championship, and I was lower on the Spurs. I was like Lord when I said the inexperience can come and bite them in the butt when they get to the playoffs. But I'm sorry, bro. The Spurs are legit. Oklahoma City, and I'm gonna throw Boston in there just cause.
Go ahead, Jules.
As for me, make it short and sweet. I have OKC 1. I actually have Denver 2 as a Spurs fan. Said it perfectly. They have been hurt majority of the year. So has OKC, but OKC has been able to make up for what they haven't had. With the depth that they had, even though Denver would address the depth that they've had issues with last year, they haven't had the same amount of impact. But the two players that had the most amount of impact, funny enough, Peyton Watson and Aaron Gordon. And in the minutes that they have been on the court with Jokic, they've been just blowing out teams. The fact that they haven't been there consistently is troublesome. But when they were, again, I'll always use this, the first 20-game sample size of that team, their second best net rating in the league. And if OKC wasn't a franchise, they would by far and large be the first net rated team in the NBA. Their offense is just a complete juggernaut. And having good defensive pieces and stabilizing their defense on the back line with Aaron Gordon, and then somewhat of a POA with Peyton Watson moves me a lot. San Antonio is, and I got clowned for this on my platform earlier in the year, thinking that a lot of people thought I was biased. I was able to see and watch Spurs games from last year, and I thought that this team could go and push OKC. I ended up being right, and I'm still laughing at all you people who called me an idiot for that take. Fourth, I have Boston. Admittedly, again, Glor will clown me about this. I was low on Boston. I was one of the Boston haters, and obviously I ended up being wrong because Joe Mazzulla was and is probably the best coach in the NBA, as he's able to maximize the role players and the roles that they can have to give value to a team. Ironically, like my coach for a long time and Greg Popovich. So when you're able to do that continuously and we'll go and see what next year if he's able to do it again. That's why Greg Popovich is an all-time coach. Hopefully, Joe Mazzulla gets to be in that realm soon, already having a ring. My funny enough is Cleveland, and I know a lot of people are just like Glore with the James Harden effect, but why I give this team so much props, it's not because of the lack of playoff wins that they should have had. It's obviously we put context behind that because of the playoff woes and the injuries that they had. But specifically James Harden, per 75, through every type of score that he has had since 2021, has been able to adapt in the system that he has had, whether it's KD, Kyrie, MVP Embiid, or now Donovan Mitchell, Kawhi Leonard. He is able to be portable as an on-ball creator, and that is so valuable. And just playing in general, he's able to maximize Mobley, maximize Allen, maximize the spacing that they have. And if James Harden doesn't show up, cool. Got Dennis Schroeder and Keon Ellis, who I think are incredibly impactful both offensively and defensively. And a lot of people like to underrate that team because there's not a lot of star power outside of Harden and Mitchell, but there's impact players all around the court, and now they just added Max Bruce. Thereafter, Minnesota, and funny enough, the Knicks. The Knicks, I'm just not sold on because of Brunson's defense and Karl-Anthony Towns' defense and the amount of what they have to make up. I know they've been playing a lot of games and winning a lot of games, but to me, in a playoff setting, you're going to be vulnerable in PNR and vulnerable in ISO situations where OG has to step up routinely, which I think he's valuable, but that's going to be my biggest concern. And then Bridges has been inconsistent this whole year. And then Minnesota, it's literally just Chris Finch. Chris Finch is the reason why they're getting held back. And if they get rid of Chris Finch and get a different mind there to maximize that roster, I would be a lot higher than them. But with the recent, with basically the totality of the season, I just hasn't been there. So I think those are my contenders. Me specifically, again, I just find it criminal that we're not putting San Antonio at minimum top 3 because of playoff experience. That's just disgusting, in my opinion.
It's terrible. It's terrible. Well, hold on. Quick question. Why? Hold on. I might be one of the only ones, right? But why are y'all so high on Denver? Gloria, you can act like what? I want y'all both to answer this. Why are y'all both so high on Denver? I know about the net rating and when they're all on the floor and Gordon and Jokic, but why? Why are y'all so high on Denver?
Because they have the most dangerous offense when they're hot. It's simple as that. Like in terms of offensively, when they are all going, we saw a small glimpse of it in the beginning of the season, right? But I don't think we really got to. Obviously, we didn't get to see it because of injuries, and that is their biggest question mark. There's no doubt in my mind if this team gets healthy in the postseason, will by far have the best offense. And defensively, there's been a bunch of questions, but I've seen them time and time again rise in the playoffs defensively because of either the other team just gives them something to work with where they can take advantage of, like OKC, for example, not being able to knock down outside shots and making them beat you from the outside and just having good gap defenders to slow down Shea. Like they have constantly risen in the playoffs defensively, and I think that we need to acknowledge that. Sometimes, in my opinion, some teams deserve the benefit of the doubt when it comes to the postseason, and I think they are one of them. I think I would trust them to get it done in time. Vote for, but yes, the answer to your question is their offense is the best in the league when they're healthy.
Okay, I know that their offense is the best in the NBA, but you're right. So the Knicks are not in your top 7, right?
The what?
The Knicks.
Fuck no. No.
Oh, Jules. The Knicks are not in your top 7, right?
Listen. That's why I made.
I have them at 7.
When Jules brought up the Knicks, I was like, bro, we need to know. I'd rather bring up the Hornets. Why can't we talk about the Hornets? I'm for
Oh
the
no,
people.
okay,
I'm for
okay.
the
But
people. We want to see the Hornets on that list.
let's go back on what Jules said though, because he said I have the Knicks so low because they have two players in the lineup that can't defend. That's Jalen Brunson and that's Karl Towns. It's the same thing for Denver, but y'all don't want to say it. It's the same exact thing. Jokic is his worst defensive season in the last like 5 seasons. Jamal Murray is not a good defender, and like not only that, but they lack ball handling. If we think that Peyton Watson is going to come and just save this team, and just because we see this little stretch that he went on when he was great when Jokic is out, it's not going to be that way. He's going to be another spotter once again when he's playing next to Jokic.
What we need to understand though, but listen, there's a big difference though. Listen, here's a big difference. When I look at a team, I'm looking at your weaknesses, right? How detrimental are they to your to winning basketball? And I look at your pros, and I look at what you do well, how you impact the game, what makes you valuable. And the Denver Nuggets offensively, they are the best offense in the league, and that makes up for the defensive lack and Jokic.
Okay, so what about the Knicks?
Mishaps. And hold on, the Knicks do not make up for what they.
But the Knicks are a top 5 offense.
No, they're not. They're not a consistent offense. They're going on this fugazi ass run against trash ass teams. That's what they're doing.
So for me, Top, you make up very, very good points. However, 2025, when Mike Malone got fired, this is exactly when everybody started to get out on Denver, making past the Clippers. Their defenses fell apart. All this kind of stuff. That defense rose with a Jokic, with a Jamal Murray, to a top 4 postseason offense total in NBA playoffs last year. Then we're able to create more opportunities to give the gap defenders to go and switch and be valuable. And then they were able to have what they did in the postseason last year and go into this season, beginning of the year, and make and continue what they were doing. But I give you full credit. Absolutely. They are 2 non-defensive players that can get it taken advantage of. However, a Brunson and Cat-led offense doesn't give me what a 136 offensive rating with Murray and Jokic. We cannot make up the gap of what they can do as a duo compared to Brunson and Cat. Point blank, period. And mind you, Jokic is still, even though he's been hurt, again, I do understand the flaws of what Jokic has been. But even so, this Denver team has shown time again, they get on this downhill in March from 2023, 2024, 2025, and they immediately make postseason run after postseason run after postseason run. Person that cares about playoff experience, but they are literally the exception.
Look, I hear it. But I'm going to shut down everything that Glore has on his list for your sake, Jules. Right. Who would you say? Right. So Oklahoma City, we know, is the team to be in the West. Right. They're coming off the NBA championship. We know that they, according to me, they are the best player in the world, top 3, however you want to put it. Right. Is Denver a better matchup for Oklahoma City, or is the Spurs?
Okay.
The Nuggets, how? No, because I've explained this before.
Bro,
I've explained this before. No, look. People think just that's why I don't like going off of last season when the players get better and this is a new team, right? And MPJ was aggressive off the catch. Isn't really a Cam Johnson who's been in his own head this year, hasn't had the best year. He's playing well as of late, but he's not playing totality the whole entire year. Like during big moments, he shrinks. Like, let's put it that way. Like big moments, he shrinks. Their depth has not been that great. Other than that little moment where Jokic went down and Pickett was playing well and all these other guys, they haven't been that great. They really relied on Julian Shaw. He hasn't gave them anything. Cam Johnson hasn't really gave them anything. Tim Hardaway Jr. is streaky, and then all the other guys, Zeke Naji and Pickett, they're butts. So let's put it like this, right? You get into a series with Oklahoma City, they do a great job of doing what? They take Jamal Murray out of the series because he showed us the physicality. We've seen it for the last 2-3 years, and when he has good point POAs on him with length, with speed, with size, they can slow him down, right? But what they also do is that they slow Jokic down as well through the course of a totality of a series, right? We know that the Spurs are a good matchup because they have the speed, they have the ball handling, they have the size to get wherever they want, and they can guard them on the other end. They cannot guard Shea no more. The Nuggets can't. You know why? Because he's seen that defense so many times. This is why I tell you all the time, the Lakers, I don't really believe in them come playoff time because it's a gimmick defense. When we know we can't guard you, we're gonna have to send doubles and late blitz and do all this stuff. They do it to Ant all the time because they know they can't guard you, right? And so last year, Shea struggled with that. It kind of got him out of rhythm. He wasn't really controlling the game. This year, look at his numbers against the Nuggets this year. Look what he did a couple of weeks ago when he stamped that he's the best player in the league, when they were sending these double teams, when they were sending these late blitzes, all of these type of stuff. 35, 15, and 0 TOs on 72 true shooting. He's elite now against that defense because he's gotten better. So you're telling me Shea's going to continue to get better. We got another ball handler in AJ Mitchell. We don't even know what J-Dub looks like against them yet because he's been out, right? And then Chet's gotten better. We know we got iHeart. We know we got J. Will, who's not only played a great defender for Jokic, but he's shooting the ball 45% from three like it's in the last month or so now. So he's giving us his two-way ability. And we get that's what I'm saying. Like, they're going to take away Jokic's strengths for totality of a series. They're going to take out Jamal Murray, and now they're more equipped on the other side of the floor. What can you do? They can't beat OKC. They can't.
They can't beat OKC after we just saw. Listen, I get.
And you want to tell me last year, huh?
Listen,
you want to tell me last year?
No.
Look at him. He stopped himself.
Let go.
Let me be honest. Have we seen a 100%? When's the last time we've seen a 100% Nuggets squad? I want to know.
Okay, so
what time this season?
No. So
November.
November.
Okay, but Glor. So a few weeks ago, right? They had everybody except Peyton Watson, but Shea was missing. Chad was missing. He had no bigs but J. Will out there, and they still won.
They're still.
So we think Peyton Watson will save the day?
Listen. Here's the point, though. I'm coming from a place where I acknowledge they're vulnerable because Jamal Murray got re-injured even though he's been on a tear. He got re-injured. Then we got to worry about Aaron Gordon still on minutes restriction. Then you got to worry about Jokic. He's coming back from injury and he's been on a slump, right? Cam Johnson's still on the shooting slump. Christian Braun came back from injury and Peyton Watson just came back. Those are literally your rotate. That's your main rotation pieces. This is not some 7th, 12th guy on the bench. And I think, in my opinion, we've seen this from them. This happened. Similar things happened last year, where they lost Aaron Gordon for some time. They lost Jamal. Like, they lost players and were still able to navigate and go to the playoffs with a brand new head coach. A brand new head coach. This is how good and consistent this team is when they have their shit together. With a brand new head coach, they were able to win a series, beat Kawhi, and finally Kawhi healthy in the postseason. Everybody was counting them out, and they beat them. And then go 7 games against the champions, right? Because they were able to exploit a specific weakness, which was that they could not knock down the outside shots consistently, right? And OKC now has a counter to that because of their outside shooting they've added to their team. Now I acknowledge that. I think that they would lose in a 7-game series against OKC. I have said that plenty of times. I'm not arguing that they can beat them, but I think they have a higher chance than the Spurs. That's a fact. Because when this team has the firepower. Not only do they have the offensive firepower, right? If you believe in Aaron Gordon, I do as well. I think he's one of the better third options in the league, right? If you believe in his outside shooting, that is going to add. I believe it. This is not fake shooting to me. Aaron Gordon is actually a dangerous 3-point shooter now, and you have to respect him. Not only does he have that, but he has a play finishing to be one of Jokic's favorite lob threats, right? So that paired up with Jamal Murray. Now, Jamal Murray is the wild card. And what I would say to you is Jamal Murray was playing horrible against OKC last time. They won 7 games. He was averaging 18 points on almost 40% from the field, bro. And they were still able to force him 7 games. And this version of Jamal, to me, is better. He looks more comfortable. You know what I mean? And even though he's got injured, I don't think the ankle injury, I think will be fine until the postseason. But that is the real question. My only question about OKC is not that can they fix these woes, is can they fix it in time? The Spurs, in my opinion, can beat them, right? But it's gonna have to. It's not gonna be, in my opinion, it's not gonna be with the Nuggets 100%. They're not doing that. Neither are they beating OKC 100%. That's just how I feel. And the reality situation is, can we acknowledge? Do you believe those teams are going to be healthy by then? Because if that's the case, if we say everybody's healthy, the Nuggets are my number 2 by far. Like it's no okay.
To
Thunder, OKC top 2, easy.
to segue, I think there are a couple dark horse teams in both East and the West that can upset these top end teams from the East and the West. Perfect example, the Phoenix Suns. I think are a severely underrated team. Very good coach in Jordan Knott. I think they can upset a series because honestly, as a Spurs fan, I don't want to go and see them. Or Portland Trailblazers are a severely underrated team because of what Donovan Clingan has been doing for the past 2 months. And even though Denny hasn't looked the same, they win in the margins. A lot of stuff that we care about here on this panel. So those are just some like play-in teams. But what realistically, and Gloria, I'll start with you. What realistically are teams? Maybe they won't make a final or conference finals appearance, but what scary teams, in your opinion, that no team wants to go through in a playoff setting once we get around?
My 2 is the Charlotte Hornets and the Los Angeles Clippers. Those are the 2 that I feel like the play-in squad that if they get the right matchup, they can force you 7 games or fuck around with it. That's just how I feel. Which ones that are realistic to me? I don't believe in Orlando. I don't believe in I don't believe in obviously the Hawks. The Hawks have been ongoing on a tear recently, but I don't believe in that squad in the postseason. If I did, they'd be my 3rd, but that's really about it.
Top, what about you?
So this is just the East or in both conferences?
Whatever conference.
Okay. Dark horses. I'm gonna have Minnesota, right? I think that Minnesota. I don't think that they can win the NBA championship, but if you had a dark horse to pick one, I mean, think that they out of this little 3 through 6 little race, the Lakers, Denver, Minnesota, and the Rockets. I think that they have the best chance. So I would say they're my dark horse over in the Western Conference. In the East, I'm gonna probably go like the Cavaliers. When I look at Philadelphia or
Cavs
the
a dark
Hawks,
horse, bro. The
well,
Cavs.
I mean,
The
I
fuck
don't
are we talking about? That's not a
like
dark horse.
to win the chip.
Bro, you're so vanilla, nigga. Pick a fucking actual dark horse.
To win the chip.
Like, let's
Okay,
stop
okay,
being vanilla, bro. You talk about the Cavs who are second
okay,
to come out the
okay,
East.
okay. Lord, do you think that the Hornets can win the championship? Are they a dark horse?
No,
Win the
we
chip.
literally just said they not. It's a team that probably might not win a championship, but can go like can win
Make
series.
some type of run.
Yeah, make it loud.
Yeah.
Hell no.
Okay. I can't call the Pistons a dark horse then because they're the first in the East. I would probably go. I don't think the Hornets can make a run. I think that they're a good basketball team. I think they can make a run. The Hawks neither, because I think that they miss a lot of like in the playoff series. They miss a guy who could really score in the half court. So maybe Orlando, strictly because one question mark around. We haven't really seen them completely healthy. Like it's really been a lot of Paulo's in, Franz is out, Franz is in, Paulo out. Maybe we might see them 2 games where they're missing Jalen Suggs, and then you know what I'm saying. Desmond Bain's really been the guy who's been there, but it's been a lot of fluctuation, but in a lot of fluidity. So I mean, that's a team that you never know. And I'm not very high on Paulo, but we've seen the way that Paulo played in the playoffs before. We've seen that. Franz Wagner, if he can scale up, if he can get healthy, maybe he can give us a little bit something in the playoffs. They have Desmond Bain now. Jalen Suggs, I think he's one of the most impactful players in the NBA, despite him not being able to shoot that well from the 3 and having those inconsistencies there. But I mean, fully healthy, Wendell Carter Jr., he can get into some foul trouble, but he's really good on the glass. He can play with some physicality. They have a good switching team. They're a good switching scheme. So I'm going to go into that later about Boston. So if they was to draw Boston in the first round. They could potentially be a bad matchup for Boston because they have a switching type of personnel, and we know Boston struggles against that. So if it was a dark horse team to potentially make a run, I'll pick the Magic in the East.
Are we serious? You think
Okay.
that the Orlando Magic have a serious chance of beating the Boston Celtics in a 7-game? Like you think that they have a chance?
Glory, you
think
said
they
a
have a
dark
chance?
horse. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Yes.
Hold on, you think they have a higher
Yeah.
chance than the Hornets? You think they have a higher chance than the Hornets?
Yes.
Glory.
He got silent. So I don't. Yes, I do. Yes.
Because this shit is dumb.
Hey,
You believe in Orlando?
Yes. Yes, I do
So-
because I like the matchup against the Boston Celtics. Yes, I do.
I will say, just to keep this completely fair, and so I'm doing my job. Glory, you were definitely the person outside of that series that was praising Paulo because the physicality that same Magic team put against y'all last year. I do remember these conversations. Now, mind you, I totally understand. You guys beat them in 5. But if Paulo decides to stop being Carmelo Anthony and start being LeBron James versus an injured Jason Tatum, wouldn't that start to worry you a little bit?
Not even a little bit. Because I
That's
saw
cat,
last
bro.
hold on. They already played a handicapped Jason Tatum. You know what he did? He averaged 30 and 12. He averaged 30 and 12 and didn't miss a single free throw. Averaged like 50, 49. Like he was hooping on them. Like it's and on top of that, he hurt his wrist, his shooting wrist. He hurt his shooting wrist, and that's the game in game 3 where they I think they won because Jason Tatum got injured, and in game 3 it was because like the refs like fucked it up because at the shot clock they should have stopped it at a certain time. It didn't give us enough time to really get a shot off at the end, but we dominated that series the entire time, like because Paulo is a cone. Franz can't shoot into a lake if it was in front of it, bro.
They got
Like, he can't
Desmond
shoot
Bane
into
now.
shit. He like they're done. And you think Joe Mazzulla is getting outcoached by? Let's not
I think he's going to be outcoached, but again,
let's not even get into that.
I'm just trying to do my job here, bro. I'm just trying to do my job, bro. Shit.
No, I'm not saying he's gonna get out coached, but what I'm trying to say is that like Boston struggles against teams that can play with physicality, cut off their dribble penetration, and switch. When Joe Mazzulla has look, I'm gonna say it now. Joe Mazzulla, who is their biggest you say you go into the playoffs confident because you know Joe Mazzulla. I think that that's one of their biggest strengths, but it's also their biggest vulnerability as well. And hold on, give me the floor, right? Give me the floor, right? Give me the floor. I want to zoom in on me right quick because let me say that again, so Glora and everybody out in the world can hear me on this. Joe Mazzulla is their biggest strength, but he's also their biggest vulnerability. Why? Because kind of similar to JJ Redick in a way, he can't coach against switching defenses. I literally watched him against Minnesota stick Hugo Gonzalez in the corner, and they were switching everything, pre-switching, allowing Naz Reid to just sit in the corner. So every time Jaylen Brown does touch the paint, Naz Reid can come and help over, and we know how bad Jaylen Brown has tunnel vision, right? So he just forgets how to coach. He doesn't know how to put the right lineups out there for it. We watched it in the Knicks series last year when they couldn't get dribble penetration and they were missing wide open threes when they got it because when it's not, they're a rhythm-based offense, right? When we're driving, kick, everybody getting touches, everybody making shots, now I can really gain a rhythm. Now Hauser's making it. Now Pritchard's making shots. Now everybody's making shots. But then if the three-point looks is coming hard and we got to work to get them, and they're not coming as much as they did if a team is playing drop or a team is playing at the level or a different type of scheme, then it's like, dang, we missed one, we missed two. Oh, now we missed three. Oh, now Jaylen Brown's taking a shot from the logo to force himself into rhythm to try to say we're down, they're on a 7-0 run. Can I hit something now? Tatum forcing the issue, right? And Joe Mazzulla is not calming the storm, right? He's not making it easier for his guys to be able to compete against this switching defense. Why can't I get Jason Tatum closer to the rim on the block in the post? Why can't I get Jaylen Brown, who's a really good post-up player, plays with strength, physicality? Why can't I get him closer to the basket? create mismatches, right? Because last year I felt like 2 years ago I felt like they did a lot more than.
Well, first of all, talking about nothing per usual. Joe Mazzulla, bro. We get listen now. Give me the floor. No. I want the floor right now. I want the floor because this is where we start lying about Joe Mazzulla and who he is. Okay, we get it. Mazzulla ball. All right. It has its weaknesses, like every other system in the NBA history.
Yeah, every coach has a
It's called living and dying by the three. Now, I want you two, Jules and DB and Top. I want you guys to tell me how many more offenses can you tell me have more like 3-point shooting personnel than the Boston Celtics in NBA history? In NBA history, give me a roster that has as much flexibility as the Boston Celtics do last year.
Any of those Warriors teams?
Warriors. Okay. Who else?
I'll probably say exclusively that 2014 Spurs team.
The Spurs. Okay.
The 2017 Warriors.
That's really it.
So we're talking one of the greatest 3-point shooting teams of all time. And you're telling Joe Mazzulla, why are you shooting so much threes? Are we fucking serious? Like, are we serious? Let's not act like the Boston Celtics in those seasons have not had one of the most efficient offenses ever. What happened in the Orlando series, if y'all paid attention, when we actually faced a good perimeter defensive team like Orlando, who were missing Jalen Suggs, I'll preface that by saying they did not have Jalen Suggs, who is their primary POA defender, right? But in that series, they were what's it called? They were pressuring us in the entire way. 94 picking us 94. You feel me? They were switching everything and we adjusted. And they were physical too. They were doing some dirty shit, but we adjusted. Right? Because they were actually taking away our opportunities to score the ball. They were blowing up our set plays, all our stat, like they were doing everything. But in the Knicks series, right? What happened was we didn't attack the rim with the what's it called, like we did against Orlando, because we were getting wide open fucking threes, and the Boston Celtics decided to miss those threes. That's not Joe Mazzulla. Joe Mazzulla is writing up the plays and is putting them in the right position. They're just not executing. The execution is what fucked up Boston at the end of the day. It was that Jason Tatum, when he gets a fucking switch on Jalen Brunson or Karl-Anthony Towns, instead of driving the ball, he decides to shoot that three. They're more. I mean, Joe Mazzulla definitely has a lot to influences that. I'm not saying he doesn't influence it, but that's not that's Jason Tatum's fault for not being able to maximize mismatches, which is what Joe Mazzulla's system prioritizes. It prioritizes getting our best isolation players in mismatch situations, and he's done that. The Boston Celtics are missing wide open threes. How is that Joe Mazzulla's fault? How is that Joe? How is that his fault?
I think you both bring up really, really good points. I would lean towards Glore on this one. I think Mazzulla is going to be completely fine. He's proved it. I do understand where you're coming from, Top, because there is some adjustments that I know other Celtics fans that have been critical about, but in a playoff setting, those variants are very, very small. And that's why I compared him to Greg Popovich, who was similarly in situations where adjusting to said plays, said systems, said personnel didn't come out as great. So I think, to me personally, I think Glore has a good point. But moving on, because I know you guys want to talk about this all day, but move on. And I'm going to combine the two because I think they go kind of hand in hand. And we'll start with Glore so we can have him have this rant. Are you a believer in Laker Mania? And is Luka, with the past few months, making a strong enough case to win the MVP over SGA?
Okay. Let's start with the MVP, right? Let's start with the MVP. I don't believe in Luka as an MVP. No, that's not happening to me. He has a strong case if he's able to beat the Shea in back-to-back games, but he won't do it. You know what I mean? That's not he just doesn't have the roster to do that. But he'd have a strong case. It still go to Shea either way, in my opinion. I think he's the runaway MVP. He was unanimous before the injury he sustained in the All-Star game. Obviously with Jokic, it was just them two for a while. Then they got injured, and then some people caught up. Wembanyama to me would be that third spot. But as far as Luka goes, I think he's been a top 4 player in the league, right? Consistently through. He had his slump. What was it, December to early January, right, where he had his slump and he was going through his personal stuff. The Lakers had locker room issues, and they've been able to improve from that point in the season. You know what I mean? So now we got LeBron, AR, and Luka finally healthy playing together. Not only that, they have made a new defensive scheme that throws into zone coverages that they've been able to have the Lakers locker room buy into, right? So they're winning games on the defensive side of the court, which is completely out of their identity for what they've been the entire season, which is what we all thought was we're going to score more points than you and trying to minimize like the damage. You know, you're going to score 100, you're going to score 100 plus points every night, but we're just going to try to maximize our offense to offset that. They've been since February. They've been a top 10 defense, and that's been because of their defensive scheme. And all their players are finally bought in. It's led by Marcus Smart, who I know y'all laugh, but he's one of the more impactful defenders on their roster. He's in my opinion, he's the most impactful, right? Because you can see the energy, and Austin Reeves and the guys have talked about how he's changed the defensive intensity in that locker room, and I think it's going to translate to the postseason. Now, is there holes? Absolutely. Is there mismatches that teams could take advantage of? Absolutely. But I think the Lakers' offense is what is going to be most dangerous in the playoffs, and I'm willing to bank on Luka Doncic, one of the greatest playoff performers of his generation. LeBron James, who in my opinion is a top 2 player of all time, and then you got Austin Reeves, who's having an all NBA caliber season. He just doesn't. He's not going to meet the minimum, so he's not going to make it. But he would be in my third team All NBA this year if he was eligible, 100%. So it's just about, can he bounce back from that Timberwolves series where he had a bad series and he was getting clamped by Anthony Edwards and Mike Conley? Can he recover from that? And I'm willing to say Austin Reeves translates. And in my belief in them, it stems from their top 3 players, and they're good enough defensively where they can get by certain inexperienced some teams like the Spurs. You know what I mean? But OKC fully healthy, nah. The Nuggets full power, no, but kind of weakened Nuggets, vulnerable Nuggets, they can beat them. So that's where I stand on Laker Mania. I believe in Luka. I think he can have a run where he can go to the finals and put himself in that best in the world conversation, because I think he's that great. He has his holes, but if he's able to take this roster to the NBA championship game, let alone win a championship, oh yeah, best in the world conversation, right back at it again like we was in 2024. That's why I'm standing on it. Coldest white boy to ever live. Heard it here first. Heard it here first. Heard it here first.
Stop.
Coldest white boy to ever live.
Man, oh
The
man, oh
Slovenian
man,
king. The Slovenian king. The
oh
Slovenian
man,
king.
oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man. So it was nice and dandy and wonderful, all what Galore just said. Um, but majority of what he said is just delusion. And recency bias is one hell of a drug, man. It's a big drug that a lot of the basketball community has. Like a lot of them are just taking it to the head, man. Completely. That's what they're doing. They're completely taking it to the brain, and they can't get off of it. They're addicted. They're addicted. And the Lakers, great stretch. And I don't like comparing their strengths this year to the strengths they had last year around February, March. But yeah, I mean, last year they kind of did the same thing when they beat Oklahoma City. And then the next game, Luka Doncic got ejected, and then they said, "Oh, we would have beat Oklahoma City again because they really controlled the game through 3 quarters." Then they go to the playoffs. They play Timberwolves in the first round. They have excuses. Then they have excuses, right? So the Lakers all year, the motto for this team, the explanation for this team is that we don't have any athletes in a league that needs athletes. If you don't have any athletes, you can't survive in the NBA now. It's a young man's league. You have a team that doesn't have a lot of floor spacing, a lot of 3-point shooting. in the NBA that thrives off of 3-point shooting, right? And Luka Doncic once again has been up and down all year, and now he's going through his best stretch of the season. Now they're saying he's an MVP when Shea has been completely consistent for the whole entire year. So I think all of this, I mean, it's cool. I get it. He's going to get MVP chance. That's what he deserves. But for people to act like we just didn't watch the Lakers be mediocre for the past, there's 6 months in the NBA season, all right? We watched them be mediocre for at least 4 of them. And then, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
No. I press on that point. And what about it? Because I saw the Timberwolves be ass for 6 months, and Julius Randle was dog shit. And you prefaced that last 2 months going into the postseason. Last time I checked, and was like, oh, we can still make a conference finals. You were right, but let's not act like how we haven't seen this before. Did we not see this from the Timberwolves last year?
Hold on. Because this is what I'm trying to explain to you and a lot of people out there, man. This is a gimmick defense, Gore. It's gimmicky. And JJ Redick, I respect him.
Here comes the excuses.
He's a real coach. No. I get it. He's trying to mask the what we have around us, right? And when guys around this gimmicky defense are active, they're in the gaps, they're in the lanes, they're moving, they're flying around. It looks great. But the thing about it, their defense is not consistent enough to do this for months on games, in the playoffs where everybody's playing the same way. You think the Timberwolves can go to the playoffs? Because people use that example when they blew them out a couple of weeks ago. You think they're going to go to the playoffs and play offense like that? No, they're not. Because when you have a defense that's just constantly sitting 2 on the ball and playing the gaps and blitzing everywhere, it takes one simple game plan. One simple, okay, let me dissect this defense, and I can beat it.
So hold on. They just did it. They just did it against the Timberwolves, right? And who you
I said that.
They are dark horse. Okay, we see how they did him. Anthony Edwards had his worst shooting performance of the year, was dog shit, and couldn't break down a simple gap defense. Right, simple gap defense that the Lakers is overrated. But this gap defense have been killing teams like they did to the Knicks, like they did to the Timberwolves. Right, they played that way against the Rockets. Was able to whoop their ass. Right.
Okay.
So this zone defense is working. It's working, and it's gonna work against teams like the Timberwolves, like the Spurs. It's gonna work against these teams because these teams we're gonna have to force you to beat us in the outside, and you don't have the offensive firepower to fuck with us. We just don't. We gonna fuck defense. At this point, fuck defense. We got Reeves and we got LeBron James, best big three in the league. We gonna just beat you off the strength.
Hold on. To give my couple points, because again, I agree with Top because you broke it down very well. Gap defense. You just named literally 3 teams outside of San Antonio that don't shoot the 3 all well. Of course, you're going to be looking like a god level defense when you're playing fucking Paolo Banchero, fucking Jalen Johnson, and the Kings and the Pelicans, non-shooter teams,
and the Spurs,
who have led in 3-point shooting and in attempts and volume since January 1st. So again, that is So again, when you talk about this and the Laker mania stuff, this is where the gimmicky defense starts to come in because of course you're going to look really good against facing teams. They look like a god defense against the Houston Rockets facers at a KD. So again, this the fact of the matter is Laker Mania is flawed and the media is now pushing because it shows that the media didn't from November to February. And now everybody's back all season and are like, yep, the Lakers are good. That's exactly what has happened.
And
also,
I'd rather listen. But what I'm telling you is number one. A lot of that Spurs shooting is called fake shooting to me. You feel me? Devin Vassell shooting the hell out of the ball, and how has he been recently? He's been
he got that.
dog
He
shit.
got that from me. He got that
And
from me,
listen,
by
no,
the
no, no, no,
way.
I ain't
Thanks
get that from
too.
nobody. No, we know. Hey,
Yes.
Jules will be the first one to tell you about Devin Vassell. Oh, he hates Devin Vassell. He knows Devin Vassell is their best shooter and is going to have to translate in order for them to be able to sustain their offense in the half court because of his 3-point shooting. And he knows that's fraudulent. It's not happening, bro. It's not happening. I'm sorry. We living with Devin Vassell and Wembanyama because we know they're real dangerous if they can hit their offside shots. That's been consistent. They are a top 2 team in the league if they're hitting down their 3-point shot. Like they could beat the Nuggets. They can fuck around and even challenge the OKC Thunder. But it all surrounds can they consistently knock down their jumpers and can Wembanyama translate offensively. And
Wait,
those two
Glow.
things, I'm just not. Both is not happening. I'm sorry,
To,
both is not happening.
Wait,
Both is not
Glow,
happening.
Glow, Glow,
to,
Glow. Going back to the Timberwolves point as well, and you bringing up the end point. So last year in the regular season, Ant struggled against the defense, right? He was terrible against their defense, and I don't remember off the top of my head how many times in the head-to-head matchups who won who, but I know that Ant struggled against their defense. You can go look at his points per game against the Lakers in the past 2 or 3
yeah.
seasons, and they're not good. But guess what? In the playoffs, even though he was a -3 or whatever, -2, he wasn't
He's a
shooting the ball
playmaker.
well.
Yeah, he's a
Yes,
playmaker. He's a
exactly
playmaker.
my point. So he's going to do the same exact thing in the playoffs this year, and now we have a better team than we did last year. We have a better offense. Like if you run this gimmicky defense again to him in the playoffs, he's going to do the same exact thing, and now he's a
Well, the,
more
well,
reliable.
well, the Lakers are better as well. The
But
Lakers are better than they were last year as well.
Oh
That's a
my
fact.
gosh, bro!
Are they
but
not? Hold on, are they
to
not?
get back to the point, I do agree. I think they're a little bit better, but that doesn't mean much. That bar was really low because Luka was hurt that whole year, and no one wanted to talk about it until the playoffs and making the Lakers excuses. But the point of the matter is the MVP conversation. Putting my 2 cents in very quickly. Again, I think Luka should be in the conversation, but again, that it requires extreme context because he had to be in this conversation now because Jokic hurt and SGA's PRA stats have gone down. My thing has always been for what MVP is not necessarily your PRA, but obviously if you're a top 3 seed is usually how it goes, and your impact. And Luka's impact has not been on the level of SGA this whole year. I think SGA should win the MVP, but now I don't think he should win unanimous because we're talking about impact. SGA's impact is not as much as Victor Wembanyama, so I think that Victor should steal a couple first place votes. And if we're talking about that, Jokic can still steal a couple first place votes. But Luka in this conversation, this late MVP talk, this fraudulent stuff, because again, the media just came back from football and saying a lot of casual shit on ESPN, on FS1, and all this kind of stuff. With Luka conversation, I'm cool with Luka conversation. But you're not going to sit here and tell me from October to December and to January that he was still giving you 33, 9 on 7 on a 2. While SGA was doing 33, 6, and 5 on a plus 11. That is insane from a guard. That is peaking as high as Magic, as prime Michael Jordan. And the fact that we're having these conversations because we start and talk about, who's going to win the money and all the gambling is absurd. SGA should win, but Luka shouldn't come in second. He should come in third behind Victor Wembanyama. Point blank, period. This fake stuff pisses me off.
And I think I agree with you. I think SGA is. I don't believe he's unanimous. That's a conversation that's been floated around. I don't know if he should be unanimous, but he should definitely be the MVP.
If the voters were smart, he should be.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I don't think he's unanimous anymore in doing research on my end. Every other 22-year-old season in NBA history, the MVP winners have been generational. Victor Wembanyama's impact literally clears all of them. That's why I don't think he's unanimous anymore. Again, you can make the argument best player, best team, but again, the Spurs have been breathing down the Thunder's necks the past 2 months. The Thunder have the hardest schedule going down these last 10 games. J-Dub just came back, and when J-Dub came back the first time, guess what? They started losing games, and San Antonio, over the last 22, now 23 games, have had a better record. So I think that it's going to be a lot closer than a lot of people think. Again, as a Spurs fan, I think SGA should win it, but we should have these conversations about Victor Wembanyama and talk about a 22-year-old season is literally the greatest 22-year-old season in NBA history. Eclipsing LeBron, eclipsing Derrick Rose, eclipsing Magic Johnson, eclipsing Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Victor Wembanyama is having the greatest 22-year-old season of all time. But that's not. That's neither here nor there.
Wait. Let's hold off on that. Wait, so I don't know. I don't remember off the top of my head, but how far did? Never mind. I don't know if LeBron. Wait, year 4. What do you go? Second round against the Pistons?
I mean, off the top of my head, Jules is low key right. I'm not gonna lie.
No, I know, but
in terms of impact of net rating, in terms of effect on a defense, effect on an offense, I've done the research. Victor Wembanyama literally clears. Not even in terms of just like playoff success or like that kind of stuff. He is number 1.
So, I mean, Kareem was 22 when he came in, right? Rookie year.
Correct.
So he was a rookie. So you got Kareem, you got LeBron when he was going to the finals against the Spurs, and then you got Mike his rookie year. I don't know about Mike his rookie year. Yeah, I mean, why not?
That's what I'm saying. The only guy's LeBron, and that's what I'm saying. That was what, year 4 for LeBron is year 4. So he was in the.
He was playing. He that's the year
he was in the finals. That's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah.
He went crazy against the Pistons. So that's why we gotta wait.
And he went crazy. This is what I'm saying. I wait until the playoffs, and that's completely fine because then we can reevaluate. But as of right now, he is encompassing this past game that they just won. He's a plus 25 when he's on the court. When he's off, the Spurs are a minus 3. A net rating of 28 top is all time. That is insane as somebody of 22 years old. That is number 1. That is insane. That's why I think he should be number 2. Because again, I encompass impact, and a lot of people who care about impact and want to talk about somebody like a Steve Nash winning MVP because of impact on best record, best team. This is what they were talking about. Steve Nash's on-off numbers. Victor Wembanyama literally has that kind of shit. That's why I think he should be number 2. Good, cool, PRA stats, but that's it.
Yeah, and that's also why I say I've been telling some people as well. He has an argument to be one of the top 3. Like, if you want to put him there, he's an argument to be better than Jokic. He has an argument to be the second best player in the world at this point in time. Like at 22 years old, it's just a matter of when and when will he be the best player in the world? Like when? Because
he has. Let's take it a step further. No, let's not tiptoe around it. He has GOAT potential. GOAT. GOAT. GOAT potential. Like, there's no way around it. This is, I mean, you brought up the him being 22, right? Can you think of a better defender at his age? Early on this season? Like early on into their careers?
Like Kareem.
Kareem. Well,
he might be again, the most
even with Kareem
ever.
Yes. Literally with the argument is Kareem 70, and then when they won in 71, but Kareem was 3. This is why I'm saying best 22-year-old season ever, is because a lot of the guys back in the day played 3 or 4 years in college, so they're coming out at 23, 24. There's exceptions to the rule. Obviously, Top brought up LeBron. Obviously, came out at 18, but the impact of what he is doing now with the guys who came out of high school, again, eclipsing Kevin Garnett. Garnett is an analytical defensive GOAT. Victor Wembanyama is clearing him. That is insane. But that's why that's my argument for why Victor should be 2. Not even winning is 2. That's been my whole thing. And again, that people can say that I'm the best guy, whatever. Have his jersey on, cool, whatever. I care about impact. I care about winning. Victor's in that argument. Moving on, and we'll kind of blow through these a little quickly because I think we have our stances on some of these stuff. But I do want to start off with Jason Tatum coming back, well as Anthony Edwards and Cade Cunningham now leaving their respective situations. How is that going to impact Boston down the stretch? How is that going to impact Minnesota and Detroit? Because as of right now, Minnesota looks a lot better, no offense, Top, than Anthony Edwards being on the court. Same thing with Detroit. And JT, again, looks a little shaky from efficiency-wise, but his impact comes from rebounding and playmaking in his defense. So down the stretch, how do we think these teams are going to look once we get in the playoffs? Top, I'll start with you.
Well, with me, with the Wolves, I'm a Wolves fan. I watch them very closely. There's a lot of emotional things going on with me connected to the Wolves. But I see some people on Twitter talking about it's an Anthony Edwards issue with the ball movement, and it's not. It's just not. I think it's a roster construction. It's a Chris Finch issue because I think the day when they get a real coach in the building and he says, "Okay, Ant, you're one of the best shooters in the league. You're shooting 52% off the catch." This is Klay Thompson, this type of stuff. But guess what? You have the ability that a Klay Thompson and those guys didn't have, and that is I have the ability to rim finish. I have the athleticism. I have the speed. I have the power to get wherever I want on a basketball floor. Nobody can stop me. Plus, I have the shooting ability, right off the dribble, the pull-ups, the step backs, anything you name it. But what's next is people want to talk about Anthony Edwards doesn't really have the impact in the regular season. He doesn't really have he has playmaking limitations. In the regular season, it's cool. In the playoffs, I think he's better when he can really sit down because when he always talks about him passing the ball and like the Lakers series last year, about he was really the best playmaker on the floor with the Luka and with the LeBron. It's because when he can really dissect and sit down and watch the defense more than once and watch the film, he's much better. And that's why he's better in the playoffs and he rises in the playoffs. That's why his team offense he's more impactful in the playoffs than in the regular season. But I think to maximize regular seasons for him and for the team to be able to be a number 1 or number 2 seed and then go into the playoffs with massive home court advantage and really have a real shot at winning the championship is a coach that can lock him off the ball. Because now what I'm watching is when Ant's out the lineup, okay, Julius Randle, we only have one isolation scorer on the floor. When Julius Randles is off the floor, like last year when he went out with that injury, whatever it was, and they went on that hot streak towards after the All-Star break, and Edwards was the only isolation scorer on the court. So it really worked because now we don't have 2 guys really saying, okay, my turn, my turn, my turn, my turn. And then the ball movement is at times where like the ball movement is not there. And that's why they can go on these little offensive droughts. And it's not a lot of consistency throughout their offense. Because when the ball's moving, when Ayo's getting the touch, when Bones is getting the touch, when Jules getting the touch, when Rudy Gobert is even getting the touch when he can catch the ball, when Ant's getting touches, they rarely lose games. They rarely lose games. And you combine that with their defensive versatility and their bones and their speed. That's why I say this team has the ability to even beat the Spurs and an OKC at their best. Like if you look at just the numbers, they're a top 5 point differential team in the NBA when it comes to beating the best teams in the NBA. They're 2-2 against OKC. They're 2-1 against the Spurs. They're 2-0 against Boston. The Pistons, they play them this week, but they beat the best teams in the NBA. Why? Because they play their best brand of basketball, and there's a lot of consistency with their offense when they decide to. But the point of the matter is that they need a real coach to lock in off the ball. It will be either the best player in the world or the second best player in the world when a real coach comes in the building and he says, okay, Ant, Let's run you off of pin downs. Let's you go here. Let you go here off the basketball. So now we can really unlock your gravity, and it can kind of be steppish and clayish to where even with you being a limited passer, you can still be super impactful and a really great playmaker because of your gravity off the ball. Because we know how elite you are as a scorer and a shooter. So now when I come you off of a pin down, they have to respect that. Let me use her as a screener, right? Let me use you to set a screen for this guy coming across with your big body and your frame, and then pop off of it. Now two go with you. Now you have AO coming downhill with playing 4-on-5, and then you have different shooters which can spray out to a DiVincenzo, a Nas Reed, right? This offense can look so much better with the real coach in the building, and that's why when Ant's out and the ball's moving more, AO Desum was averaging 19 points per game and 9 rebounds and 7 assists on 48 from the field, 53 from three, and 90% from the field. And even Bones Holland, they brought a real speed element to this team, and that's great for them going forward because now they're less unpredictable in the half court with all this isolation ball where defenses can load up, right? So it's just that they have 2 ISO ball dominant scorers, and somebody needs to have a brain switch. And I don't think it's going to be Ant because that's not how his brain is wired. But last year, why they were so great is because Julius Randle said, this team is still winning without me in the lineup, and the ball is moving a little bit more. So let me switch my brain and be more of a play finisher and get off the ball and get others involved first, and then I can be a scorer second. So now everybody can eat.
Okay. Glor, make this semi-quick.
Yeah.
For Jason Tatum.
Yeah. First of all, he's back. He's back. He's back. Hey, I try to tell y'all, listen, I'm gonna keep it short this week because Jules want me to go quick, you feel me? I don't want to go too long, but I try to tell y'all about the Boston Celtics before the season started. A lot of y'all had them as an 8th, 9th seed. Maybe some of y'all had them out the play-in, you know what I mean? And they've been able to overcome that because of coaching and it's because of the consistency since the beginning of the year, right? So Jason Tatum, I know a lot of people are skeptical about him in the postseason because of his injury, but the Achilles injury to me did exactly what I thought it was going to do. It was going to have him come back. I knew he was going to come back to. He was never going to be a bad player. I was never convinced that Jason Tatum would come up and come in our offense and stagnate the offense or make it worse. If anything, he would just basically hide all our inefficiencies we've been having, like shooting slumps, like things like that nature, which is also his weaknesses as well. So if anything, he was just going to be another Boston Celtic in the rotation. He was still going to be able to provide help side defense. He translated immediately as our best rebounder. He's already being used as an offensive hub, maximizing Kada, and the scoring has been up and down, but we see the flashes. You know what I mean? Like against the Timberwolves, even though he didn't have a really efficient game, that third quarter was all world. That's the Jason Tatum I know, and we're just starting to see that version of him in small spurts in games, not the entirety. And he needs to finish games out. Our biggest flaw is still closing games out. The Celtics, that's been their biggest weakness since Brad Stevens was there. You know what I mean? We have a trouble closing games out when when games get close, and being able to really lock in and when it matters most and maximizing possessions, which it's been our Achilles heel, and it's going to be the reason we lose if we do. But Jason Tatum, he's ready to go for the playoffs. I don't know if he's ready to be the best player yet, but he's providing value. He's the epitome of a perfect role player at this version of himself because he can shoot the ball. He can be used as an offensive hub. He can pass. He's not going to stagnate. He's either going to shoot the ball or he's gonna get to his what's it called to man who's tagging. He's gonna get the ball out of his hands quick. You know what I mean? So that's what I appreciate about Jason Tatum. Jaylen Brown is one that stagnates our offense a little bit, and hopefully his jump shooting can translate in the postseason, which I believe he'll be efficient. He won't be all world, but he'll be efficient enough to get our number one scoring option. So that's all I feel like. I think the East is real wide open for us. I ain't gonna lie. I think we'll find those appearances.
Real quick. I want you to touch on this about your team because I like the Celtics coming out the East, but at the same time, I have a lot of question marks. Like that's why I say I think there's 2 real teams that have a real shot to win the championship, and that's Spurs and Oklahoma City. but I'm gonna throw Boston in there because I think I'm gonna just throw one more team in there. But I think that's the weakest out of the bunch, and I still have question marks about them.
No, the reason why the reason why I'm so confident about the Celtics, I'll tell you. Right, the reason why I'm so confident about them is they're by far the most balanced team in the Eastern Conference. Right, so and the Cleveland would be number 2 in my opinion. And the reason why I give us the edge over Cleveland is because Cleveland does not have like they have a question mark at the wing spot, especially defensively. You know what I mean? They don't have viable wings that they can depend on. Jalen Tyson's nice, and Keon Ellis are nice guards, but like I don't think they're big enough to go out there and guard Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum and teams that have like athletic wings like the Knicks. You know what I mean? Or the Pistons. Like I don't think they would do well against those teams. Donovan
No,
Mitchell and James Harden are still not good defenders.
hold on. This is my question for you. Is that like the thing that I worry the most about them is not only just the switching on the personnel on the offensive side of the floor, not the personnel, but you not being able to be switching defenses, but the scheme defensively. I feel like the key in 2024, the reason why y'all were able to win the championship is because you had a superpower a lot of teams didn't have. And I'm super big on this, and that's why I'm high with the Timberwolves as well. Is that like you can only play one scheme. Like it's because of the bigs that you possess, like the personnel. Like you have a Luka Garza, you have a Demas Kata. Even with a Vooch, you can't switch anything. You can't really switch everything unless you're going to go really super small. And I don't think he's ever going to do that in the playoffs. But you can only play drop coverage. And when you get guys who can fry drop coverage, like a Donovan Mitchell and even a Jalen Brunson at times, right? They're just seeing the same scheme the whole entire series, then they're gonna fry that. Like you can't really switch up much. If you're gonna play Nevis Kata more at the level, that's cool. But you can't really do Vucci's too slow, Luka Garza is too slow. So you're really only mainly going to be in a drop coverage. And I think that's like to throw this stat out there. The Boston Celtics against the upper echelon teams in the NBA, they have a negative record. They can't beat the good teams in the NBA. Like they're on one against Oklahoma City. They haven't really beat the Spurs. They're 0-2 against the Timberwolves. They're what 1-3 against the Pistons as well.
Which I think is fair. However, we also saw that the regular season doesn't necessarily matter in the playoffs. Like it just doesn't. Like
no, but that stuff matters to me.
No,
right?
Top, you're trying to bring up a point for the regular season for the Celtics to discredit what they've done, but Boston, throughout numerous years, even regardless of this year, has made countless Eastern Conference Finals runs with losing records against better teams.
So you're telling me in 2024 they had a losing record against good teams.
No, but a team. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, but even with the same coach with Joe Mazzulla, you can bring up 2024, 2023, 2025. They had losing records against countless other Eastern Conference teams and top. I do think you make a good point, but I think for Tatum, for me, it's going to be how he looks as a role player, and I agree with Glor. We can affect that. And you bring up a lot of good points about drop and all this kind of stuff. How can it affect in a playoff setting? But I think for me, Boston's probably the most comfortable in the playoff setting to overcome that. But we'll wait and see. That's why I had you guys go quickly on your team to give the opinion for that kind of stuff, because I do have to personally run. However, lastly, before we sign off for a quarter of the opinion, just very, very quickly, rookie of the year, is it Khan or is it Coop? Because at this point, I think it's just a two-man.
Yeah, 100%. I'll start off. I think Khan is my rookie of the year. I think the reason why he is because Coop had the ankle injury that kept him sidelined for about like 10 games, I want to say. And Khan within that time frame went on an absolute heater. He led the Charlotte Hornets to the best record, their best winning streak in their franchise history. He's been one of the best 3-point shooters in the league. I think outside of maybe Steph and Anthony Edwards, he's the best shooter in the league already. So he's kind of gapped Coop in terms of the games played and how he's been able to, sustain that consistently. He's been a little bit more consistent than Coop this season. But Coop to me had, maybe you can characterize it as saying like he had the highest high out of all the rookies. Some of the performances the one was actually against the Charlotte Hornets where he damn near had 50. Like he has performances like that where he shows his impact not only on the offensive end but also on the defensive end. He's when he has his jumper going, it's dangerous. But Coop, I think Khan's been a little bit more consistent. I think that Coop to me is still the better player, and definitely has a higher ceiling. But I got to give it to Khan. He's just been more consistent.
For me, for me, I kind of thought of it that way at first, but then I was like, okay, nah. Like, yes, I understand their numbers are pretty comparable. Coop, I mean, Khan has been more impactful. He's having one of the best. He's having the best, pretty much the best shooting season for a rookie. He's super duper efficient. He's been more impactful to his basketball team if you're looking at the on-off data. But I just think that Coops had a substantial role to him. Like, I mean, he's being put in more, uh, you know, what's the word you say, Lord? Advantageous situations, something like that. Like,
Yeah.
he's his role has been scaled up, and he's been in different situations where at the end of the year, Jay Kidd's experimenting with him at the point guard. He's going back to his natural role sometimes, the small four. Like, and he's done a pretty well job at balancing both. Like, he got accustomed to being a PG. He got accustomed to being a small forward. And I think it's better for him in the long run. Like Laura said, he has a higher ceiling. But also, I think that he's also had higher highs this year. Like that run, I believe it was I think it was January, when they battled each other. I don't remember exactly the month. I think it was middle January, in January, beginning of February. But he was on a run, like where he had like 40 and like he was averaging like 30 for 3 days for a week or something like that. That's 28 to 30 points per game. So I think that alone is gonna grant that award nod for rookie of the year for me with Flag because didn't he have like he had like close to 50 or something, like 40, 47?
He had 50.
Yes, yeah. So that's what I was. Yeah, he had 50. So so that's what I'm saying. Like the highs this year that he's had, the roles that he's had to play through. Like he's not gonna be super duper like impactful because they're both rookies. Like if you put Conklin on a role where his team's not that great and he's taxed to be the number one guy and set everybody else up, like that's a tall task for an 18-year-old. I think it's gonna be beneficial for him going forward. But that alone, I would grant the award to Coop just because he's had higher highs in a substantial role.
For me, I was on the Coop train up until like how Glor said he got hurt. You brought up that game that he had. Mind you, he broke the franchise record for rookie points on the same night they were retiring the original owner and Mark Dwyer. Incredibly impactful. I think he does have a higher ceiling. I would still give this to Coop. I wish I could give this to Coop, but I have to give this to Khan. Better record usually gives it to the better record rookie, kind of just like how MVP is. And the fact that he is definitely having the best rookie shooting season of all time. And that translates in today's NBA, so I want to give him his props. I do think that Cooper is more of a... Because I don't want to take away from Khan. I'm going to try to word this very, very timidly. I do think is more of a franchise guy than Con Knipple, but Con Knipple is a versatile player in a system where you can lead to success more often, if that makes sense. But shout out to Con. And shout out to Coop, because the fact that we're coming into this draft thinking that Cooper is going to win Rookie of the Year almost unanimously. And there's some people with the VJ Edgecombe, some people down Harper, some people out Derek Queen, and making this a two-man race is tremendous. And I hope that the NBA in the future is going to market them, unlike the other rookies that have been through the past several years and the number one draft picks over the past several years. But that is it for the Court of Opinion. Court is adjourned.
Wait, hold on. Quick question. Do y'all believe in Helen Keller?
Oh my God, we're not going through this.
Yeah, we're done.
Yeah, we're not going through this. We're done with that.
Out the mud. Out the mud.
For the people, please sub to the YouTube channel Court of Opinion. Please follow us on our TikTok platforms, Jules Compton, Top One Hoops, and Glore. We'll be making content about our personal teams as well as NBA content for the rest of the year, hopefully the next couple years. And let us just know if you guys agree or not, because engagement is all we want to hear from you guys, regardless if you agree or disagree from free yapping for. We care about what you guys think, and we like to engage with the community as much as possible. But like I said, court is adjourned. We'll see you guys next week.
Yes, sir.